Hi, I'm Josh Blaylock, and welcome to Technically Speak. Wait, what happened to Josh? I'm not Josh.
I was expecting Josh to be here. Like, I'm not prepared for you to be only restrained by my ability to interrupt you. That seems like a bad plan on our part.
What are we doing? Do we have any idea?
Well, this is an unwebinar, so it's casual. We work together. We get into details. I think there's content about that, Michael. Like if you yeah.
There probably is. So for those new to the Technically Speaking, it's called an unwebinar because unlike a webinar, we're not just going to sit here and yell at you endlessly for an hour. We're going to sit here and yell at you until you interrupt us. So interrupt us by raising your hand, come off the mic, add questions in the chat and Q&A. And we want this to be interactive. We do not want it to be just like Ferris Bueller's school teacher just droning on the chalkboard. We want it to be fun. Although everybody was fun, it was everybody except Ferris was engaged in that scene.
One thing, logistics, that usually Josh would tell you if he was here, but as you may have picked up, he's not able to join us today. We've got the raise hand feature in this team call, so you can raise your hand, and then one of our lovely, which is like me, Michael, and Kaylee, administrators will unmute you or give you the ability to unmute yourself. That's one of those cool things that Josh remembers to say that Michael and I don't remember because we don't usually do this part. But you can always drop things in the chat. Definitely encourage you to turn on your camera. Everybody likes to see what where we're taking these calls from and how we sound, and what on the background we're all looking at like what headset you're using while you're on the call. So shout out to Sharath for joining the call and using his Evolve 275. Yeah, it's almost like I work here.
We're not on the audio side. We're both on the video side. So bring your headset questions and we'll see what kind of answers we can make up. Get registered. We have to, what do we do? What is registered for?
We are
is this to find out about
future webinars and this webinar? And you want to make sure that you're registered for the webinar so that you are entered for the chance to win this week's drawing, which is a
go back, the PanaCast 20 and the Evolve 265 Flex.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you get a little taste. I know we hit you with the a 90s title for the webinar. We're sneaking our AOL CD. We've got to be somewhat brand compliant here. So maybe it's just a generic free trial web CD that you may have picked up at a video rental store in the past, and not something that you would associate with any particular trademarked organizations.
I would also like to say we are currently on brand, and from this point forward, are we ready to get started?
I think so. I think confirmed. Like Josh has not joined, so it's okay to go to the next. All
right, well, let's get started. You know what I liked most about the '90s was the techno.
We're definitely not going to be asked back to make another slide.
That's part of the point. So hi, I'm Michael Tressler. I'm a senior solutions consultant at Jabra, which is technical pre-sales. And sure, Spice Girls are my favorite band, and my favorite movie is Spice World. And I just said that, and I believe this is being recorded, so you can use that against me. I burned through so many of those Memorex tapes back in the day that it is part of my soul. And this webinar is best viewed not using Netscape now 3.0 or Internet Explorer. Who are you, Parker?
I am Parker Dunbar. I am a solutions architect. I work in our enterprise services division here at Jabra. And believe it or not, I was around in the 90s. So, I'm here to pick up the other end of the cultural references that maybe Michael was not so connected to. Obviously, Brittany was a PBS kid. So, I was watching Zoom. I didn't realize there was also like an earlier version of Zoom, the TV show, educational program for children that has a different logo that's also like timely appropriate for Michael. So he didn't want to have that one on his slide though. And gotta rock those 16-bit colors so that you can see our great beach backgrounds, because like Josh Blaylock, we know where to find the beaches.
Yes, we do. We know where to find the beaches. So here's our topic of our agenda. We're going to start with the Speak 275, which if you've been listening to us, you've been hearing Speak 275. So what's new on that? Value Pack 6 for the PanaCast 50 and Value Pack 3. All this stuff was released in about the last month. So we're going to catch you up on all of the new features that have come to this. And yes, as I said, I'm a video pre-sales person. The Speak 275 and the Speak 255 and 40 fall under the video team because reasons. So let's start with the Speak 275, and we'll talk about the main feature that is happening on there, and we're going to do live demos. So the Speak 275 is the top of the line of the new series of our speakerphones. There's also the 55 and the 40. The 75 basically is the same thing as the 55, but a bigger speaker and Teams Rooms certified. So it has that and a bigger battery as well. But the coolest thing is with the 75 is you can now link them together, meaning you can you have one device connected, one Speak 275 connected to your laptop or a PC, and you walk into a conference room, and then the conference room's a little big and people are hard to hear and it's echoey. So why not just grab another Speak 275, put it on the other end of the conference room, and now these two will work together. The echo canceling works together. It's a way to extend the audio range. And I think Parker, let's see if I spotlight for everyone. I think Parker is in a space with the Speak 275.
In fact, Michael, I'm in a space with two Speak 275. So here I am in sort of our signature style room. You might be able to see these two Speak 275s here on the table. I've got one of them connected to my laptop. The other one I've got just running in so that it's got a power connection on it, because these are battery powered devices. And I can walk around from one side of the room to the other. And the microphones on both of the Speak 275 are active at the same time. Our audio processing is listening to see where do we get the best pickup of someone and how do we best hear their voices. And the speakers are active on both devices at the same time as well. So this helps you, in those rooms that need a little bit more positioning for audio, to be able to get that microphone a little bit closer to the user for rooms where you've got the Speak 275. And nice thing, you can use the mute button on either of the Speak 275s. That's synced together as well. So you tap mute on one, mutes both of them. You can tap unmute on the other one, unmutes the room. So not only is it distributing audio across the room, but you've also got that audio control. Now, since this is
Parker, I wish I could hit mute on you remotely. I can't. We don't have that feature though, do we? As I'm also doing my demo and going between the two. Carry on, Parker. I didn't mean to interrupt, although I totally meant to interrupt.
Of course you meant to interrupt. The one thing I wanted to say is, we're demonstrating this with the Teams client, that piece of software that's running on a computer. And if your users are thinking about using linked devices on the Teams client, just remember that the Teams client is starting to introduce cool features like voice isolation, so that when you are taking a call from a busy space like a cafe and you've registered your voice, the Teams client can actually filter out other voices. If you're going to be in a meeting room that's using these linked speakerphones and you're having that session on the Teams client, like a BYOD meeting, you're going to want to make sure to turn that capability off in the Teams client for. So if you're trying to test this out and you're like, wait, I don't hear another person when they start talking, be sure to look at that voice isolation feature.
Hey, Parker, don't take it the wrong way, but I think people are tired of hearing from us. I think we should show how this is set up and what a real person knows about this. So this is the product manager, and here's a little video you get to watch, showing a couple more things like music and things like that. All right. I think for many of you, you heard that. I love PowerPoint Live, except when I don't. There were a few questions in chat. Mark asked, is it actually stereo or just dual mono? As best I've been able to discover, Parker, it is actual stereo, not dual mono.
I was going to say, yeah, functionally speaking, it does. You can have, if you take, one of those videos that has left channel, right channel audio and plays, you'll hear one speaker pipe up as left and one speaker pipe up as right versus a dual mono, which would just much the signal out to both. So don't quote us too deeply on that, but yes, I think you actually do get a functionally stereo speaker experience.
I think when I first got it, I tested it by putting my head right between the two, and I'm like, oh, I can hear different things out of each one. Any plans on enable? And again, I'm just reading these questions for the people who can watch a recording. Any plans to enable linking more than two Speak 275s? Not that I've heard. I haven't heard at all about that. So I think 2 is going to be the max. It's what it was on our previous generation, so probably is. George, I'm a little unclear on your question. Can a Jabra Speak 275 be used on a VoIP desk phone as a conference phone? Mainly as new desk phones have the USB ports and built-in Wi-Fi, so users can move the desk phone to almost anywhere inside the network. Are you asking about connecting a Speak 275 like to a Poly or audio codes, or you're saying yes? I have no idea. I would say that's an untested solution, and it would be up to the phone if it can change its audio to those ports. Parker, you have any insight on that, or is it?
I don't, and this would probably be one of those things where like you may find some capability there, but in terms of if you were gonna, try to sell that on a scale and then come back for a support issue, there, it's gonna be pretty wide a field of the design use case here.
Yep. This did come up in the chat, but it's on the slide, so I'll talk to it. The Speak 275 as a single device is Microsoft Teams Room certified. So if you plug a single one into your Teams Rooms, you have certified audio. As soon as you add a second one and link it, you are no longer Teams Room certified, because we have not certified that solution with Microsoft. So do not use this as a larger room solution or to expand the audio in a Teams Rooms. This is meant for a BYOD type of solution. Initially, when we first got this, a couple of my coworkers were connected both Speak 275s to their same PC or to the same laptop, and they were seeing some weird inconsistent performance. So the guidance is only plug one Speak 275 to your laptop, either via the Bluetooth dongle or via the USB cable, and put the other one on, off in the distance, running off battery, or pull at 3 or 0.3. Make sure you understand how you're going to power both of these. The battery life on these is 30 some hours, but if you're going to leave them permanently in conference rooms, you may want to consider permanent power options for at least the satellite Speak 275, because the one connected to the laptop would then be getting powered by the laptop. There's also make sure if you're going to roll this out as a permanent solution in conference rooms or in spaces, that you disable the go to sleep mode on the Speak 275. Current firmwares default to off for sleep mode. The original firmware had an 8-hour sleep mode. So I would come in the morning and my back, the one in the back would be powered off. And so I had to go to Jabra Direct and turn off sleep mode. And then now I can just, go around my room at any time on any call and move around and know that I'm being picked up well. So those are some caveats of this feature that you should know about.
And I would say, too, when you're thinking about connecting one of these to your laptop, it could be either of the two linked Speak 275. So it's not like you've got to keep track of, oh, this one is the boss of the connection. It's the one that I have to make sure I connect to my laptop. It can be either of those two linked Speak 275 devices.
Yep, it's really flexible. This is, I know I'm a Jabra homer, but this was well implemented.
Oh, sorry, Kaylee. I thought you were accidentally talking and I muted you.
No, that's okay. We have one more question that came through. They had questions about, instead of connecting something to your laptop first, are you able to connect the 275 to an iPhone and then connect the second Speak 275 to that Speak 275? Does it matter what you're connecting it to? You have to use the dongle for the stereo capability.
No.
Okay.
But I can't say I've tested that scenario, because I believe they pair independently of the.
Yeah, the pairing is the two devices. So the two Speak 275 are paired together, and then when you are connecting those two Speak 275 as an audio device to something else, they are delivering the paired signal.
Oh, there's Q&A. I wasn't paying attention to Q&A. Thanks, Kaylee. Thanks a lot for paying attention.
We've got a
Mitch, you have your hand up.
We just had one flip through. Oh, Mitch, let me go ahead and I will. Yeah, sure.
And then you can unmute yourself now.
And now you can unmute yourself, Mitch.
Can you hear me now? Good.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think I just asked that question. So what I mean is, can I pair? Do I need to use the dongle as the interface to the sound source? I think I heard no, but I wasn't sure that was no, you can't or no, you can. So I can pair one Speak 75 to this, and then I can pair the second 275 to the other 275, and they'll act like that, independent of a dongle if there's no dongle capability.
Yeah. So the way I would think of it is like at a tech level, you are pairing the two speakerphones together, and then whatever that those pair of devices are outputted to is receiving that paired
whether
signal.
It's plugged in, whether it's paired, or whether it's paired to a dongle. That's okay. Thank you. That's what I want to make sure.
Yeah. Awesome question.
Good. I like the conversation. This is the unwebinar part of Just Interrupt Us.
Yes, and the bunny hopped. And that was
Did the bunny hop?
Yeah, it did hop. I saw it hop, which is great. We a lot of time into these slides that Michael did a fantastic job.
A question about customizing the LEDs on the Jabra Speak 275, like turning them off from. Boy, would I like that! And I'll just leave it at that. No, not today, but I will take that feedback and pass it on. So I have my there. Yeah. All right. I think we're done on Speak 275. You can keep asking Speak 275 questions, but we do need to move on because we have a lot more content. So this is the PanaCast 50. This is our classic conference room device, certified for Teams room, Zoom room, or works great in a BYOD mode. We just released Value Pack 6. It's essentially a small one, especially as we're about to talk about Value Pack 3. But what it did enable was we've always had a 3.5 millimeter port on the back of the PanaCast 50, and it was never used. You plugged anything in, nothing happened. It was always turned off. We have now turned it on, and it is only supported in one specific use case, and that is to connect it to an Auracast or other assisted listening devices, but pretty much Auracast. So what Auracast is a way that, so we send the audio out the 3.5 millimeter port to a little device. That device can then send signals to people who have headsets on that can hear that. So for assisted listening uses, that's the only supported use case. Don't come at me saying, hey, we added external powered speakers and now we're getting echo. Yeah, no, don't. It is meant only for that use case. So it's awesome. And our friends in Australia are probably happy with that. And then Parker, do you want to talk about how we're better at rocking the mic?
I was going to say we are a lot better at rocking the mic in Value Pack 6. What we looked at and improved here was behavior with what we call, or conventionally is called, double talk. So when the far end is speaking and someone in the room starts speaking too, you do a little bit of technical magic to try to cancel all of that far end speech so that you don't send that back as an echo to anyone. Value Pack 6 has an improvement on the timing so that kicks in faster, so that if the far end is talking and somebody in the room wants to interrupt and start talking, that it picks that in-room person's voice up more quickly without running into, a scenario where I'm talking and my mouth is moving, and you can see that in the video, which you can't hear for that little interval of time. So faster time interval to help make it easier because we know people talk over one another in meeting.
What do you say?
Exactly.
Just wait, so Parker. Okay, so other things, then there's always the stability and performance improvements. There were a couple of ones that are lower level that are not here. So that's the thing about that. There's a question about, does Jabra have any authorized or recommended installers for PanaCast 50 rooms? No, we would just recommend you find a certified, not necessarily by us, but a qualified AV installer. We do have partnerships with all the major ones and a couple of the minor ones. So, but we don't necessarily recommend one over the other. And as a general, we haven't partnered with one specific installer. Somebody on the PowerPoint team, and Parker, this is your thing. What do you about the origami bird?
Oh yeah, no. I was appreciating to Michael the other day when I saw the origami bird. Like there were multiple people in a room at Microsoft who had to story point that out and discuss not only should the slide fold up origami, and then the bird, the origami bird, needs to flap its wings as it exits. Like, it could have just, folded and then zipped off in one stream, but they actually took the time to say, you know what? It would be more delightful to users if it flapped. We're going to add an extra 5 story points for the flapping. So this truly, it warmed my heart.
And then they had a test to make sure that is certified on all the hardware. So they had to break out some 16 meg 486 from 1993. It works. It's slow, but it worked. Ship it.
Back to classic time. Well, speaking of not classic, but in fact, very new things, Value Pack 3 for the PanaCast 50 VBS is now generally available. And what does that mean? It means you can get it from Teams Admin Center, you can get it from Zoom Device Manager. And in addition to the obvious to end users things that change in Value Pack 3, there are under the hood technical changes in Value Pack 3 that are important for IT administrators to be aware of. So one of those big changes from an engineering perspective, but not necessarily so much from an end user experience in the meeting room perspective, is this adoption of Microsoft Device Ecosystem Platform, which just gets shortened to MDEP. The industry loves acronyms. And that's still an Android operating system. It's Android 13 based, whereas before, previous Jabra firmware was on Android 10. So this update includes the migration from Android 10 to Android 13, as well as changing from Jabra's provided Android OS to Microsoft's provided Android OS. The key feature, I think, that's going to be important to end customers, particularly end customers in the enterprise space, are going to be security-focused features. So it's the fact that Microsoft is standing behind and creating some of the guardrails around when security updates need to be applied and enforced. They're managing some of that code base on the AOSP side. And what this means is that if you have an enterprise or a large customer, or just a customer who's concerned about security, which frankly all customers should be, they're able to evaluate different Teams Room on Android devices, just other Teams devices that run on Android that are using this MDEP operating system instead of having to do different vendor-specific tests. And that's one of these key benefits of MDEP, is this flexibility. So it's not just for Teams Room on Android. Other devices on the market can use this operating system as well. But it is fairly restricted, so it's not like before where you would have enrollment policies and you had to worry about, is a phone going to try to use this enrollment policy that I meant for a Teams Room? No. It separates itself out very well. Speaking of enrollment, that's kind of the next topic here of what happens from a sign-in perspective, what happens on a back-end perspective when you do this update to Value Pack 3. So let's look at that and how that changes on the back-end infrastructure side. So in the past, in the previous world, conceptually, as you were signing Teams devices in, you were seeing this sort of connected action between a device login using Entra ID, the Microsoft's directory service, and using Intune, as long as you had the Intune feature enabled in that Teams Room's license. And that feature was enabled by default. So you would have been manually going and unchecking a feature if you didn't want this to happen. When you do this firmware update, you will notice that the Entra ID sign-in from your Teams Room on Android device is going to start saying AOSP tagged in there from this change to Microsoft's MDEP codebase. And it's also going to give you that Android 13 version number. So this is in Intune in that Entra ID when you're looking at device sign-ins. The next thing that you're going to see is that in the Intune devices area, all devices that use MDEP use AOSP device management. And this is where I know there's a lot of complexity in communication. So any device that's running MDEP is going to be using AOSP device management. Also, other vendors who are producing these Teams Room devices need to be using AOSP device management because Microsoft deprecated the old mechanism, device administrator. So some people are doing an update where they're taking their current code base and they are removing device administrator and they are adding AOSP device management. We're taking a little bit of a different approach. We did the jumps to MDEP and AOSP device management at the same time. Cool thing about using AOSP device management, because it is built by Microsoft specifically for managing these Android devices, is that all devices that use that AOSP device management will enroll as corporate devices. So before, you had to put in serial number to say flag these devices as corporate and flag anything else as personal. With AOSP device management, you don't have to put that serial number unique device identifier in, because Microsoft controls the distribution of those AOSP device management packages, and those packages are only going to these Teams certified devices, or these other devices that are being brought in to this MDEP ecosystem. So you see a sign in Intune that lets you know you've got AOSP and Android 13. You see a sign in on the Intune side, as opposed to the Entra side, that flags as corporate, shows that you're AOSP and using that user-associated enrollment policy, and that you are on Android 13 as the OS version. That is a ton of word vomit. And
that was a lot of word vomit. It kind of matches your shirt.
I was going to say, I'm only able to word vomit it that fast because I've been doing this for like a year now. And so I've gotten a little bit refined, but please pepper with questions in Q&A, in chat, raise your hand and interrupt. If it is unclear to you, I guarantee you are not the only one who has this question. And this is a great time for you to get some secret insights into what's going on from somebody who has been poking and prodding this for a
I'm
little
going to
while.
try to TLDR too late, or TLDL too long didn't listen.
Yeah.
We released a new operating system upgrade from Android 10 to Android 13. That operating system is now managed and run by Microsoft instead of Jabra. So that's the one part of this Value Pack 3, is that we are now running Android 13. Which then gets into supportability and longer lifespan of the device before, like Windows 10 is going to bed in October of this year, so it's out of support. Android 10, Android 9, Android 8, all those older versions are out of support or getting out of support. So we jumped to Android 13. That extends the supportability of the operating system. So that's the one thing, is we're now running a different operating system. That's a big jump. As part of that Microsoft MDEP, they have also updated the way the device talks to Intune, and we're now using a thing called AOSP, or Microsoft is now using a thing called AOSP, and we are supporting it in our operating system. So that's the TLDL of the wonderful diatribe that Parker just vomited upon us.
And I will give it to absolutely anyone. Is it confusing that Microsoft named a thing AOSP when AOSP stands for Android Open Source Platform? Yes. The formal name here is AOSP device management. So that DM sometimes gets neglected.
Depeche Mode, DM? Depeche Mode?
Yeah, again.
Okay, AOSP and Depeche Mode. I didn't know Depeche Mode, so cool.
Now, another important thing to know, if you have a VBS or your customers have a VBS and they want to update to this new firmware, and let's say they're a Zoom user, great. They can pretty much ignore all of the fact that these Intune changes are happening. Doesn't affect them. They update to Value Pack 3. They can push it out through Zoom Device Manager the same way they've pushed previous firmware updates out. If you've got a customer or you are using your VBS as a Teams room device, you can go into Teams Admin Center and you will see the firmware update only if you are on Value Pack 1.1, so the previous firmware, and you have updated your Teams application, so the actual Teams app on the device. Both of those updates can be done through Teams Admin Center. So if you go into Teams Admin Center and you're clicking around and you're like, why do I not see Value Pack 3? Just make sure that you have updated to the latest vendor firmware from us, and that you have updated the Teams app for Microsoft. And then you'll be able to update to Value Pack 3. So there's also a disclaimer message in there.
So what I've just heard is go to Teams app. We're not forcing this on you yet, which, okay, cool, whatever. I just go into Teams Admin Center, I upgrade, and I don't have to do anything else. And I've got all this cool hotness. Is that it? There's just take my existing environment, update, and I'm on the Teams world. I'm using Intune, no problems, right?
You're going to have a great time.
Am I?
I believe so, strongly.
Do I have to do anything on Intune first?
You do.
Leading
What a
question.
great point. And I think you even made a great little video recording about that, Michael, didn't you? Don't we have something for people? You do have to do something before you run that firmware update. And the Flags in Team Admin Center will actually tell you, hey, be sure you do this. They aren't quite clever enough to like look and see if you've done it and then report back only, but they do actually say, hey, do this thing. So before you upgrade, create that AOSP enrollment policy, which you are seeing.
Do I have to click Teams devices for this?
You do, and I don't know
good.
why you decided that you might not, but then you went back in. So you do have to choose Teams devices. You don't have to choose or provide Wi-Fi configuration. In fact, if you do, we're not going to do anything with it right now. And you do have to have a token expiration. When this was initially introduced, this was like, oh, the tokens are going to expire every 90 days. It's going to be tedious. Now the token lasts for 65 years or something. I very much hope that you have upgraded to a different Jabra product in 65 years. Otherwise, I mean, it's not going to be my problem at that point. I'll be retired.
Are you saying our products don't have a 65-year lifespan?
I don't think I'm authorized to make that claim official capacity. I can't make any statement about the, failure lifespan of the product, but I would say that 65 years would be a very conservative device refresh cycle for your meeting rooms.
Very conservative. But the point here is before you update to MDEP or Android 13 or Value Pack 3, check with your Intune administrators if it's not you, and make sure they're aware of the AOSP. They may have already done it, especially if you have like Teams handsets or Teams panels or other Teams devices in your environment. They may have already done that. If not, really the best thing is to Bing AOSP policy, and the Microsoft Learn document will be the first one. And this is just a video, but the Learn document will walk your Intune administrators through this. And this is not a Jabra thing. This is Microsoft is changing it for all Teams devices thing. We just are one of there's a couple already that have been released. A couple of other vendors have already released their AOSP firmwares. So that's it.
And wait, before you leave here, I do want to call out, when you switch to AOSP device management, if you have configuration and compliance policies that you've created in Intune, you're going to need to create new policies that are of type AOSP device management. Your old policies were of type device administrator. So maybe open up 2 windows, 1 monitor is your old policy, 1 monitor is your new policy, make it new, make it AOSP device management as the policy type, and then you can just verify that you're creating the same thing. So in environments where you're using configuration and compliance policies, you should do that as well. But at a bare minimum, with an enrollment policy, you can sign in.
All right. Any other questions? Just people saying, I hope Intune is around in 65 years. I hear you.
It'll have 4 or 5 different names by then. But
this was super nerdy. Can we get out of the nerdy stuff and more into like cool camera stuff?
Again, it's technically this, felt appropriate, Michael. And
okay.
We got this great techno background. We got the tiger there that's kind of like bringing the vibes up.
Bringing the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Technicolor value pack.
So Intelligent Meeting Space is a feature that marketing named that we have had on the PanaCast 50 for a while. In Value Pack 3 for the video bar system, we have now added it to our Android bar. What Intelligent Meeting Space is, maybe a more common or word you might be familiar with, is like virtual walls or virtual boundaries, where we can kind of define the size of the conference room. And then if the camera sees people outside of that boundary, it will not add them into the image. So if you look at the left here, this gentleman now has a red circle around his head. He's outside of the boundary, so he's too deep into the space. And then you'll see here on the top video, they don't have Intelligent Meeting Space enabled. And there's somebody just hanging out making a phone call. The camera sees it, pans out. I'm like, hey, let's show this person. I see this person. I see a human. I should show humans to the remote people. Well, we don't care about that human because he is outside the space. So then the bottom one did not pan and zoom a lot. So this is a good utility, a good feature for rooms that have walls or open areas, that sort of thing. one, it doesn't bring people into meetings you don't care about, and two, just as a remote attendee, you're not distracted by the constant camera movement. It's much easier then to focus on the group at the bottom than the one on top. Anything you want to add, Parker?
Yeah, I want to say this is a video boundary. So you're defining the video periphery that you want the camera to pick up. And you're going to, define same size distances on the room width, and then the depth is the total depth of your room. So when you're going in and you're tweaking those values, you can actually see the on-screen preview on the display, little faces, green and red, decide whether people are in or out. There's lots of math involved in making that decision about in or out. So you may need to, you might have a room that's exactly 6 meters, and you may end up needing to put in 5.8 or 6.2 if you have particularly unique situation. So be sure to check it out and test it out in one of your rooms.
I'd also like to say that this background of the blue and lime does not hurt my eyes at all. And I'm ready to move to the next slide.
And just so everyone knows and takes a minute to appreciate, this was actually the original background on all of the slides. It was variations of color of that. So Michael really, he thought about how much he wanted brand to come after us after this session, and he did dial it back with the animated backgrounds.
Well, yeah, but the animated backgrounds are still not on brand.
I know, but they're less offensive.
Other cool stuff, or as we said in the 90s, gnarly dude. We have Perm BYOD, which will give your hair a permanent and put your hair in curlers. So that's very nice. Bring your own hairdresser. So you can bring your own dresser permanent. Parker, any thoughts on Perm BYOD and why we have hairdressers on our
90s, bring your own disc. We've got our own, meeting that we're ready to have. Yeah, exactly. Bring your own Discman. No, so this is an option that I think is, there for customers where they want to have future capability to expand into a licensed room, but they might want to start with just a BYOD type scenario. It also offers some of that HDMI management, so you can use the VBS as sort of a pass-through device for HDMI between that laptop and that room display. So this is something where you would take your VBS on this updated firmware, and when you're doing the out-of-box configuration, instead of picking Teams or Zoom, you would pick permanent BYOD as the mode that device is going to operate in. And this is separate from the fact that when you pick Teams or when you pick Zoom, you can temporarily enter a BYOD mode on the VBS. So that was a feature that was already available on the device.
We added Wi-Fi support in Value Pack 3, so the Wi-Fi chips have been on there since since the initial release wasn't decided it was a minimum viable product feature, but there are enough requests and enough use cases. Think carts and movable carts like that. So we went ahead and enabled Wi-Fi on there. And then 802.1x, security and safety first. I know it's not italicized, but that is a line from Genie in a Bottle. So we're being on brand with the 90s comments here. 802.1x is a feature that makes sure that the devices connecting to a corporate network are wanted to be on that corporate network. So it's a way to test them, to validate via certificates and other IT nerdiness that devices connecting are expected and anticipated.
Like, do you know what the acronym EAP stands for 802.1x, Michael?
Early Adoption Program.
Another EAP, that's Extensible Authentication Protocol. So -1, but it's okay. You're like,
no, I gave a correct answer. EAP is a correct term at Jabra. I answered that correctly.
We have our own internal glossary for these acronyms. So
you're boring me. Boring. I need a music break.
Michael, if we had 802.1x controls on the PowerPoint slides, we wouldn't have been able to just insert this random bit.
All right. So I got a new mindset now, Parker. You're no longer boring to me. We got some more fat new features. We got cool colors. You like the cool colors, Parker. You said you tested the cool colors. Tell me about the cool colors.
I did test. So we have some accessibility features now on the PanaCast 50 VBS. You can go in and change for certain color blindnesses to change the default color set that is used on the device. So that is now available in the admin mode side of things to make the device more accessible. And speaking of accessibility, Mike talked about aux out for Auracast and for assisted listening devices. We turned that feature on for the VBS in Value Pack 3 as well. Exactly the same criteria. This is for those assisted listening, not assisted living, though again, terms that
in 65 years when our certificate expires, that's where we're going to be.
We're going to be in the assisted living facility listening on our Auracast headset to the call where someone's asking us where this obscure Intune policy is that they need to update because their enrollment policy certificate token expired.
And it's just better. What was that? Do you remember what we put that for? Did we just run out of did we run out of a 6th bullet point? We just said
I was going to say, I think it was like there were so many other like small tweaks and things, and there probably were also like other substantive updates. I don't want to make it sound like the only other things we haven't talked about are small. And we didn't want to, this is so visually overwhelming as a presentation, and I wish it had color accessibility features because then I would just turn it off. But there's a lot going on. You can check out our support site to see the full release notes.
I can start changing it to different colors if you give me a couple minutes.
Oh, I would prefer you did not.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's it. That's all we have. That is the 3 major updates that we have for the linking on the Speak 275, the Value Pack 6, which is primarily the enhanced double talk, which apparently is not a cool word that we're not allowed to use, and the Auracast, and then on Value Pack 3, it's an operating system update, Microsoft Intune updates, and then a bunch of features added. And Scott asked in the chat just now, is aux out in additional to room audio on the P50? Yes, the P50 speakers will still do the audio for the people who don't need Auracast, but then the Auracast is for the people who need the assisted listening devices. Anything else? Can we please put the QR code up again for registration? That is excellent. No, wait, hold on. This is not it. This is, I think, a survey.
Well, hold on. Let me see. I'm going to scan it with my phone.
And see what this one is. This is where Josh would have shown up, but he without getting into his personal thing, one of his children he needed to take to the hospital, or not the hospital, not that bad. The family doctor wasn't that bad. I don't want to make it horrible.
This is a survey. We should encourage.
That is the survey. So let's put the registration code back up. Kaylee just, instead of scanning, she put it in the chat.
Wow.
So and if people are watching the recording, they can just rewind back to the beginning.
And I was going to say, we have to give Kaylee a lot of credit here. Kaylee, I think several months back in writer's room for technically speaking, it's like know what we need more Brittany content. And
it's literally not even my idea. This was your brainchild. I have nothing to do with that. It's beautiful though. It's creative. It was passionate. We got to see that firsthand.
There you go. So if you wonder what I do for my day job, it's taking perfectly brand normal slides and converting them to absolute violations of Jabra brand.
Yeah, Josh isn't going to invite us back. The last time.
Mission accomplished.
No. We'll be back, I'm sure. If there are any questions, though, we have a couple minutes. Otherwise, it's a webinar. You can drop anytime you want. We appreciate that you stick it.
It's an webinar.
Is it on webinar? That's right. That's what really gives you permission to leave. Is like it's not even, we're not even trying at a webinar.
So Will, hold on, Will. Before MC Hammer, and I made that change this morning. I had a Rickroll in there. 100%. It was Rickroll before I put MC Hammer in, but then I did the research. It would have been an anachronism. The Rick Astley song "Give You I Never Give You Up" was released in 1987, so it's not 90s. And Rickrolling didn't start until 2007. So Rickrolling didn't happen in the 90s, neither the song release nor the act of leading people to a false link. So I pulled it this morning and put in Hammer Time, which was released in May of 1990. So, Will, I'm all with you. You should join our team. Like you're on the right mindset. It's just this morning I realized it was going to be an anachronism, and you can't have an anachronism.
Absolutely not.
Oh, Sherrod wants to come back.
Oh, does he have some planted questions for us? See, this was the thing, Oh, do we have to allow his microphone? Oh, no, we don't.
No, we don't. All right.
Is that a good-
Anything else? Otherwise,
I
you
don't
know.
think so. I don't see any questions in the Q&A, and I think we're all caught up in the chat.
All right. Well, I guess I'll say thank you, everyone. Join us for the future ones. I don't even know what's up on the next one. I think we're doing some audio, some headset stuff on the next one. And then we announced at ISE the Jabra VBS 40. So we're going to talk about that in a few months and other things to keep you up to date on all of the things Jabra. So I am going to click on the end event link. And so thank you, everyone, for attending, and have a great day. Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.